Today we're going to discuss abstract thought and the origin of God. The reason for this is that it is Judgment Day. I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but it doesn't matter. Your responsibility is to prove me wrong. If you cannot prove me wrong, then I'm right. And if I'm right, it's Judgment Day. Don't panic. Judgment Day is not the end of the world. That won't come until the end of the baby boom generation. Right now, I'm about to read the verdict to you and give you a chance to meet God. We're going to start out talking to the scientific community and the God particle lovers. We don't want to make things too complicated, so we will make them as simple as possible so that everybody can understand. What is abstract thought? Simple. Abstract thought is the opposite of everything natural or logical. For example, abstract art is illogical shapes and patterns as opposed to regular drawings of people or pictures. You see that? Abstract thought is based on feelings and emotions, something that can't be measured, because abstract thought says one person is prettier than another, even though that other person might want to fight with you. How can you say to a human being that I'm madder than you, or you're madder than me? You understand? How can you measure these things? So because they cannot be measured, they become illogical, even though they are real. House and car. Why? Because everything has two sides. So that everybody will understand what we're talking about, okay? We're going to use the most popular formula in science today. E equals mc squared. E equals mc squared breaks everything down into two sides. M for mass, C for force. Everything broken down into two sides, saying everything has two equal opposite sides. Square. And let's talk about square. Square, little 2 down there, this is a square. A figure with 4 equal sides. So what does that have to do with the force going out in all directions at once? A square, a figure of 4 sides. 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, since everything has 2 equal opposite sides, and we're talking about forces, if we look for the 2 forces of the square, we have to have one opposite force here, going right through the center of the square where the power comes from. The other opposite force here, going right through the center of the square where the power comes from. So at the center of the square, we have 2 opposing forces, one going this way, one going this way, meeting. And where they meet, they form 4 angles. 90-degree angles, or L's. You know, in mathematics, called perpendicular or something. But it's 4 L's. And the 4 of those L's add up to be 360 degrees. Now watch this. Since everything has 2 sides, let's divide these angles in half. This one and this one, because everything has 2 sides. This one and this one, and everything has 2 sides. As we continue to divide them, you notice that we're creating 2 opposing forces on each end, going out in opposite directions each time we do that. But it goes all the way around for 360 degrees to form a circle. So, square means a circle. Now, let's take these forces and work with them separately. Let's call one positive. This is a positive force. And the other negative force. As these forces burst from the center, and they begin to go out and emanate out, their power begins to weaken the further away they get from the source. of that power, which is the center. As that happens, they begin to fall back towards themselves, so that the negative falls towards the negative, and the positive falls down towards the positive. You understand? Howsoever, the light forces, see this right hand. I don't need another right hand for you. Can you see? Can you see that? That's what it looks like. So what would I do? There's no room for another right hand. So automatically, if you want to give me another hand, I already got one. Throw it away. What I need, if I have an extra right hand, is a left hand. See, two opposing forces, one's right, one's left. You always. So if you show me a left hand with the right hand, I say, well, yeah, that's the one I want. So like is automatically going to say, I don't need another. So your two negative forces are going to repel themselves away from each other because they don't want to be there. But the other side, the positive force, the left side, right, left, the positive force needs the negative force. Positive and negative, two opposing forces, two opposite sides. So it unites with that negative force that is blown away from the other negative force. This other positive force that has been blown away unites with that negative force. So that what happens? The entire reaction starts out all over again. And a continued evolution that says every action has an equal but opposite reaction. Or what goes around comes around. In short, everything has two equal, opposite, opposing sides. Let's look at mass. The M in the formula E equals mc squared. Mass is basically stuff mass. All three-dimensional objects are mass. Now let's talk about dimensions. What's a dimension? One dimension, single dimension, length. One dimension. Why? Because it has no height, it has no width, it's nothing but length. It has a right and a left, and we can measure. That's all there is, one dimension. Another dimension, height, up, down. We can measure 10 centimeters. This line is 10 centimeters long. There's a bottom and there's a top. Height. It has no length and it has no thickness, but it has height, one dimension. Now let's put length and height together. What do we have? Two dimensions. We got length and height. And we got height, but it has no thickness. Now let's add the third dimension, width. Huh? Can you see this? Mm-hmm. Width, now we have length, height, and width, which is what? 3 dimensions. So what can we say about a dimension? Basically that anything that we can see and measure exists in a dimension. And what is a dimension? All dimensions have two sides. Single. 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. They all have one thing in common. They all have 2 sides.
Let's discuss C, the almighty force. C. Where does force come from? The reality is that the force must come from nothing, because nothing is there. So from absolutely nothing comes what? For nothing to be maintained as absolutely nothing. And I hope you can see this. Hope you can see this. This is nothing. See that? There's nothing on this board. Absolutely nothing. Now if I were to put something on the board, for the reality of nothing to be maintained, it would have to remove that which I put there. So it would be a vacuum. The force of nothing is the negative force of a vacuum. If there was nothing in the universe, it would be a vacuum. There would be no sun, no stars, no moon, no planet. Because a vacuum is what? A force that sucking everything up to maintain nothing. Oh, yeah. Otherwise, something would be there. And something is there. Because if nothing is the negative force of a vacuum maintaining the reality of nothing, a force, see, this is a force line. Stop, the paper falls. But to keep it there, to maintain nothing, I need a force to suck everything out. And that force can be measured because the force of the wind, like the wind in a tornado or a hurricane, can be measured. And if the negative force of the vacuum of nothing can be measured, what is it? It's in a dimension. And what did we say about dimension? Anything that can be measured is in a dimension. And all dimensions, from nothing else, have two sides. Now, what can possibly be on the other side of the negative vacuum of nothing? Because nothing is there. Nothing is there except one thing. One thing. The reality. The absolute reality that everything has. So on the other side of nothing is something. A single itty-bitty little spark that says everything has two sides. Because that is the only reality in existence. Is the spark of intelligence. Because you have nothing and then you have a spark that knows everything's got two sides. But guess what? The negative spark looks up and right there. What's the positive? Because the moment the void, empty void of nothing came into existence, something came into existence, and the universe was created. Because the negative spark looked over and said, hey, yo, who are you? And this positive spark looked back and said, what are you talking about? I'm positive. I've been here all the time. So the negative spark said, whoa, no, kid. I was here first. I came from the negative womb of nothing. Where did you come from? And the positive spark said, hold on. I came from the negative womb of nothing. So where did you come from? But nothing is all there is. There's nothing. One single force that meets in the middle. And in that middle, see, you got a left side over here, right? And you got a right side over there. And they both come together in the middle. And with the left and the right, each opposite, we're able to make and create anything that we want. TV, computer, garbage like this. Anything. That's so it is in the universe. Two opposite poles. Now, the middle said, look, y'all, let those fools out there argue over who got here first. We don't worry about that. Life forces repel and destroy everything anyway. So let them fight that out. We are here in the middle, the control center. We know that there's a right side and there's a left side. We right here joined together. So in that union, we can create a union.